So welcome to the Sachse Construction Retail Summit in New York City. Whoa, thank you. So we have about 150 people, retailers and architects and owners reps here. So we really appreciate all of you for coming and participating. And really what we're here for is just to share best practices and to humanize what we do. And I want to bring up my partner, Jeremy Gershanowitz. So come on down, Jeremy.
So from what I heard, I was told by a couple people this is like the hottest ticket in New York right now. Is that true? Huh? Is that true? Right. So thank you to all of you who have attended this event so many times, and thank you for your participation and for making it, as such a sought-after event as it is. And it's my pleasure to introduce our first panel. So Trevor Shimpfky is president and CEO of Paul Stuart. Prior to Paul Stuart, Trevor spent 16 years at Zegna, serving as VP of North America, playing integral roles in Zegna's U.S. retail stores. Trevor will be in conversation with Women's Wear Daily senior editor Jean Palmieri, who covers all our brands, and you probably have read all of her stuff, so you know. So I think there's a tape, too. Let's roll that tape.
More than anywhere else in the world, New Yorkers have a keen sense of style and elegance. Good afternoon. Welcome to Pastis. When this restaurant first opened, there was nothing else over here. My name is Daryl Disman. I'm the maitre d' at Pastis and a loyal Paul Stuart customer. As the maitre d' of Pastis, it's important that my style is impeccable. Much of our clientele comes from fashion, investment, and entertainment. They appreciate and recognize a well-made tailored suit. The craftsmanship is next level, and they have the best tailors in the world. The similarities with Paul Stuart and Pastis, it's the attention to detail. It's the same with French culinary traditions, if it's done at a very high level. New Yorkers remember me because I stand up from the crowd. That's the importance of style.
Hi there. We, looking back at that, was so excited. I remember when Pastis closed, how everybody was so sad and down. And when they reopened in 2020, we were also launching a new program in our own stores called the Custom Lab, which is an accessible made-to-measure program. So we were very close with this great-looking gentleman with the braided hair, Daryl Disman, and we said, why don't we do this thing? Can you talk to Keith McNally and everybody at Pastis? And we did this amazing commercial with Tastemade. And even though it's a few years old, it's the best thing we ever did. So thank you for watching that. It's nice to be here with everybody. Jean, it's a pleasure to be here with you.
Well, thank you. So dinner's on you tonight, is that,
yes,
is that
yes.
the deal? Okay.
We've got
Just
30
checking.
reserved tables at Pastis for the night.
Nice. So we heard a little bit about how you started in this business, and tells us why you're so impeccably dressed. But give us a little bit of your history and how you wound up at Paul Stuart.
I went to college down in Richmond, Virginia, and then went to work for a company that made shirts and ties in California back in around 1992, called Robert Talbot. And back then, everybody was wearing shirts and ties. They were doing about $35 million a year in 1992 in shirts and ties. Worked for them for 10 years, and then was hired by Ermenegildo Zegna to come back to New York, where I was involved in wholesale. And eventually, after 15 years, was in charge of all of wholesale for North America, United States, and Canada, and also very much involved in our own retail stores. When I started, they had about 10 stores, and by the time I left, and our chief of staff, who's with us tonight, about 15 years later, they had about 32 stores. So there's a lot going on apropos of this crowd here. And then took a little time, went to Hugo Boss for a short time, took some time, and then started at Paul Stuart in December of 2018 as the head of Omnichannel, trying to bring together our retail DTC, our brick-and-mortar business, in line with our e-commerce business, which which was at the time in 2018 two different worlds. One was across the avenue down the street, and the other was over here. And you can't do it that way anymore. It has to be all together. So that's what we've been doing ever since.
And then you were handpicked by the then CEO, Paulette Garofalo, to become her successor. And you've had that role since 2021, if I'm not mistaken?
It'll be 2 years on July 1st, so about 6 weeks away.
Okay.
Yes, and it's been an exciting journey for us, and we'll talk a little bit about the most strenuous activity in those 2 years, which was opening our new store in Chicago just about 2 months ago.
For those who may not be familiar with Paul Stuart, give us a little bit of background
It's a
on
good
the
one.
company.
This company started in 1938, a long time ago, as a retailer of fine menswear. And flash forward now, and over those years, people have gone from wearing suits every single day, ties every single day, to then not wearing anything, and then wearing them again, and then knitwear, and then short sleeves and sweatsuits, all that kind of stuff. And stores have come and they have gone. Think about it. Even Barney's, up until right before the pandemic, was still going. They're gone, and Paul Stuart is still there. In 2012, Paul Stuart was acquired by a Japanese firm called Mitsui. For those of you who don't know who Mitsui is, it's a humongous Japanese firm dealing in industrial fish, salmon eggs, shrimp, everything. And they have a little teeny tiny retail division, and we're very proud to be part of that. Our secondment from Mitsui Tokyo is with us today. He's our Senior Vice President of Corporate Planning, sitting at the table with me. Satoshi, it's a pleasure to have you here, sir.
So we know about the flagship store, which
Yes.
is very close to here, and everybody can go visit later. But tell me how many stores you have here in the U.S. and where they are.
Yep. We've got our main store on Madison and 45th, and we opened an outlet store across the street from us in the Roosevelt Hotel right after the pandemic. There was some real estate that was very inexpensive at the time just to rent, and that's been great. We have a store in Washington, D.C. at the City Center, which is absolutely spectacular, and we have a store on North Michigan Avenue in Chicago. That came to be about 13, 14 months ago. We got a call from our landlord. It's public knowledge, Nuveen, and they said the handshake deal we had, bye-bye. We've got somebody who wants to pay a lot more money for the space. Get going. So we had 10 months, and I call it to this day mission impossible, to find a new place, get everything done that needs to be done, from the LOI to the writing of the lease to an architect to this to that, and have that place opened for business, so we didn't have to have any lag time. And we did it in 10 months. And you see some pictures here of our new Chicago store. Very proud of it. We created a really magnificent space. And again, 10 months from start to finish. So,
That's
during the
remarkable.
pandemic, when everybody raced out of the city and said the city was dead and no one would ever come back to New York, it was going to be like Kirk Douglas again and Escape from New York, where people would be flying in on airplanes to get the President of the United States out. It did come back, but we opened a store out in Southampton, and we had great people that were living out there to escape the city, to have a calmer life. They did come back, but we're still doing business in Southampton as well.
That's nice. So I know I did my background research, and it was a family-owned business for many, many years until it was sold to Mitsui, which had been its Japanese licensee, actually, and that was in 2012. And at that time, at the very beginning, there had been some third-party brands, meaning other brands. But since then, it has transitioned exclusively to Paul Stuart merchandise. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
the company was always had a mantra for being just the best everywhere. But everything changes and ebbs and flows over the years. And when I took my role about 2 years ago, we said with our creative director, this is it. We're getting back to it. What differentiates us from every other retailer out there is we don't have brands. It's Paul Stuart. And okay, it's one thing to say it's Paul Stuart, but you're just shopping brands and putting your label on it. No, we stopped. We said everything is going to be designed from the socks all the way up to the suits to the sport, everything by our creative director. He's one of the most talented people I've ever met, and we're back to it. We don't have products that a lot of smaller specialty stores throughout the country can also have in their store with either the brand's label on it or their own label. And that's really what makes us so unique and special out there. As for me, coming from Xenia, you know, we would sell Neiman's, we would sell Sachse, we would sell Nordstrom, we would sell all the better specialty stores, and we would all require them to, we ask or try to require them to sell the same things, but it's all that, and Cucinelli and Canali and all these brands. You go into Paul Stuart, and everything in our store is unique, and it's proprietary, and it will only get more and more so that way as we go over the next few months into the next fall season. So it's been a great move for us, great evolution to kind of get back to the roots of what the company was originally intended for.
So if you were to describe the Paul Stuart aesthetic, for many years, Brooks Brothers was on the next corner. So why would somebody come to you? What was your claim to fame?
We have a byline, I think Aslan, you came up with this one, saying life should be colorful. And it's our DNA. We are about color, always are about color. Whenever we get off color, meaning we start getting into the deep browns, and it doesn't work. It's got to be the great color. If you see the picture up there with the guy with the red jacket on, that just exemplifies it, hand and foot. And I think also unapologetically dressed up since 1938. And Aslan, I think you came up with that one too. So dressed up and still doing very well with sportswear, but just always remaining very, very colorful.
All right, okay. Now let's talk a little bit about the flagship. Up until fairly recently, it had been 30,000 square feet over 2 floors, but you downsized it significantly. So talk to me a little about that.
Yeah, you know, March 20th, whatever it was, 2020, when when the federal and the state governors said she had to shut down and go home and wait this out for 1 week or so. Okay, it wasn't 1 week or so, obviously. We had to, we were at the tipping point. We were at an inflection point as a company because, as every other retailer was, and a lot of the retailers went down, a lot of brands went down. You couldn't survive anymore. There was no way for money to come in other than our e-commerce, which did keep lights on. So part of that was renegotiating the leases with all of our landlords, and we did, I guess, looking back, a pretty darn good job of getting things under control. The most difficult was the one in New York, believe it or not. We thought they could just hold it on. It was all, no. In the 11th hour, 59th minute, we got it worked out, and part of that workout was we had 2 floors on the corner of 45th and Madison Avenue and 45th Street, and we gave back the 2nd floor so that we could get our rent at a more reasonable level for us to do business and contribute a tenancy occupancy expense to our CapEx that was not overwhelming and bringing us to death. So, but we let go of the 2nd floor of the most magnificent space you could possibly imagine, and now we had 1 floor, and we were able to adapt. We were able to figure out how to make that 1st floor that much better. We had a basement which was unfinished with bugs everywhere, and I think some wild animals as well. Refinished our basement, made a state-of-the-art photo studio in the basement, so we didn't have to go out and use studios anymore. We had a terrific group come in and design all that and construct it, and then got everything on 1 floor and a little mezzanine section, and just figured out how to do it all. And also that required us to be more disciplined too in how we approached the purchasing of inventory to make sure we weren't purchasing enough for 20 stores and we only had 3. So big part there too.
10 months, you said you were able to open that Chicago store.
Yes.
That's kind of remarkable.
Yeah.
Is there anything special about that? I mean, it's brand new as opposed to the one here, which is sort of a much more, historic location.
Yeah, I think if I was mentioning to Gene, maybe it'd be worth talking about this since introductor said construction on it. It was February of last year where we made our first trip to go look at spots, and then we started all the process, and we found a great place on North Michigan Ave. And we had to be out of our old place by January 15th of this year. It was October 24th as I was driving home from here up to Bergen County, New Jersey, and on I-95, the Turnpike, and the contractor that we were going to use called me up and said, "Trev, I'm out. This has to be part union, part not union. I'm not going to do that." But good news is there's a union contractor that I know, he'll do it for you. Okay, so an hour later he called me back. Trev, bad news, that union contractor's off. And it was one of those, it almost went into the ravine there. And so the next day, had to find out who is going to be the contractor for this whole thing, because nothing was happening. October 26th, got on a flight, went to Chicago, asked the original contractor just to meet me so he could bless this other guy. It was all good. We were sent an angel from heaven, a contractor on October 26th, said, this is going to happen. I'm going to make it happen. I don't know how he did it, but October 26th, November, December, January, less than 3 months, all done. And we were reopened. I mean, all the woodwork was done inside, all the millwork, floors, finishing, painting, the clean shell had not even been completed. The excavation of the old, they had ovens cooking pizza that had still not been taken out on October 25th. Satoshi, I don't know how we did it, but we did it.
So how is that store performing?
Store's doing well. It's been off to a good start. We're very happy to be there. And I think now in hindsight, if anything, it's given us some really strong confidence that we know we can do this and we want to do this. We have plans in our 5-year plan to have 3 more stores in the next 5 years. And personally, I'd say let's have 10 new stores in the next 5 years. And let's figure out a way to do that. We're working on that.
So what's on your wish list for these stores?
We think about Florida market would be very good for us. We think down in Atlanta would be very good for us. We've talked about New Jersey. That would be great, just because we've got some economies of scale that we could, with shared services from being so close to New York. I think Vegas could be a good option. And we consider the Northeast, Boston, but Boston's very highly retailed up there. I don't know if that'd be the best, most logical place for us to go. We've considered a second store in DC, and also last, but certainly not least, if probably first, I think we need to be either in Houston or Dallas for our next location. There's a lot going on in both places.
That's interesting. So you've also moved into wholesaling.
Yes.
So where does that fit into the picture?
We started doing wholesale 5 years ago, selling Paul Stewart's always been known for great shoes, footwear, and somehow was able to get into Neiman's and Sachse and Nordstrom directly at first to start. Most times, most brands, you start with little stores and you work your way up, and somehow it worked in the reverse here. So we've got a nice wholesale business at all of those stores with our footwear, and we've branched out into some other areas, tuxedos, what you see on the screen right now, and some formal accessories, also some tailored clothing as well. And that goes well as it can go given the climate of that wholesale arena. Neiman's and Sachse, you can read anywhere, particularly Sachse. There's been some challenges, and now Neiman's and Sachse might merge together. We'll know if that's going to happen or not, I think, finally within the next couple of weeks. But everybody's continues to have a little challenge here and there with what we've been through last year with this pending Fed recession that doesn't seem to happen yet.
Right. What I found interesting, you said you came in overseeing the omni-channel. A store like that you wouldn't think would be able to sell so much online. So how do you do that?
It's a good one, Gene. When I interviewed with Paulette on December 11th of 2018, I pulled my phone out and went onto their Instagram site, and I said, did you realize that the last post you all put up was 3 months ago, October 15th, or 2 months ago, and it was a picture someone took from a hotel room, a high-rise hotel room over Central Park with a really bad camera and bad focus, just an overhead of the Central Park. That was it. So it was really time to go digital, and that's where Oz and I have partnered so closely with each other since starting, making sure that we have a really, really strong face in the digital world, whether it's in social media or it's our website. We had a website that was being held up by, it was like a bad old beach house somewhere down New Jersey being held up by things that, because the waves keep beating on it so hard. So we decided enough with this was Magento. We partnered with Salesforce, That was one of the first first tasks we completed. We partnered with Salesforce and a world-class system integrator to build the architecture of the website, and we went from a jalopy to a 560 SEL overnight, and a beautiful website that could be maintained really well. And then the imagery was up to Azahan and her team to take over and create something that really now attracts, which is our main goal, attracting a younger audience, the next generation, because if we rely on the old, we're just not going to grow. So that's been our main focus, I think, Gene, in the last 2 years, if not 5.
You communicate a lot more frequently as well.
We
I
do.
know I
We
get
do.
your emails all
We
the
do.
time.
We do. And we needed to really be talking about our product and communicating who we are as a company. So we created something every week called Ralph Raves. Ralph Ariyama is our creative director, and every week it's like clockwork, an email that's really, really well done with Ralph talking about product, about the coolest things in the store, what might have just come in, or what might just be coming in, or really what makes us so different out there. And we've gotten some really great feedback on that, especially from you, Gene, so thank you very much.
Yes. So before we turn it over to the audience for questions, is there anything else you can tell us that you have on the horizon that you're excited about?
I think on the horizon we continue to want to open stores. Brick and mortar, during the pandemic, everyone said it's dead. It'll never come back. And everyone remembers the stories. Facebook, what they did, the billions and billions they put into all this stuff, and it was a big bet. It didn't work out. Yes, the digital world went right back down as soon as this economy reopened again, thank goodness. And our business, people were coming in our store as soon as they got safe again. They were grabbing 5, 6 suits. These are $2,000, $3,000 suits like this by the handfuls and throwing them on the counter. I would say, well, wait, what about alterations? And no, we're going back to Arkansas tonight. Just put it in a bag, okay? Let us get out of here. So it's a little, balance comes back to it, but I think the future really holds a strong brick and mortar expansion, and then further development of our website, of our e-commerce business.
Nice, nice. And of course, the logo for the company is the man on the fence, yes. And they say that the man was from Yale, so sorry, Harvard Club. Anyway, so we wanted to open it up if anybody has any questions in the audience. I think this young lady has a microphone for you. They're waving hands.
I'm curious, talked about how the fashion changes and what from sweatpants to suit and tie, so on and so forth. So who's your customer today? Would you define your customer today? How would you define your customer?
Who is it?
Define your customer?
You will always try to pitch yourself, and it's been true when I was at Xenia, pitching yourself to thinking it's this 20-something, 30-something, but when you get into the economics of what the cost is and everything, it tends to be an affluent person in their 50s. That's probably where the bulk of the customers land. But we have to keep making ourselves look younger and feel younger, because no matter how old you are, I think you still want to look and feel younger. And 50s isn't, no, but just not to confuse though, it's not, we'd love to have a lot of guys in their 20s pouring in, and we do get a lot of good younger guys that are coming in, even so more than ever before in the past. But core customers, 50s, 60s, affluent.
Over here.
Yes.
So what are your tactics for targeting the young audience? Like, what is your team actively doing to seek, young 20s, 30s, year-old men?
I wish maybe Aslan should just get through. It might be tough. Aslan, like I said, it's one thing I picked up from a CEO when I was working at Boss. This was back in 2016. He said, if we don't catch this at the time, the millennial, we are sunk. And now it's, if we don't catch Generation Z's attention, we will be sunk. So one of the biggest things we did as of late was we got ourselves up and running on TikTok. And no one would have thought, Paul Stuart on TikTok? Are you kidding me? No, we're on TikTok. And we've got some younger people that we've hired in the company. We have a social media manager who's in her 20s, and all we said was just give her every device she needs, let her go off in the corner and just sit there and do her thing. Just let her have at it, okay? If something else pops up, be on it. And the team is really vigilant about content that appeals and content that a younger gen can really say, hey, this is cool, you know, and you start to build up a following. So I think that would be our number one kind of device or way of kind of going after that Gen Z, those great kids in their 20s.
So I have a question in
Yes,
terms
please.
of, it's clear that you've been able to keep a legacy, right, since what, 1938? And coming into today's world where we're not really sure what luxury, how to define it, but there's something about the Paul Stuart name. So when people come in, is it the relationships? Is it what keeps people coming in year after year? What made that guy come in to buy, a bunch of suits and head off to Arkansas?
Yeah.
Is there a magic in the SP label or the PS label?
Yeah, I think there is, and I think that magic's been built over a number of years, but it's been continuously reinforced by not relenting, just season after season, making sure we're getting our catalogs in front of people, that we're connecting with more people on social media, on Instagram. I think we had about 6,000 followers in 2019. We've got now 52,000 followers. But it's interesting, the question also begs itself, okay, when they're coming in, what are you guys doing? We recently started an initiative with our front line called Unreasonable Hospitality. If anybody knows, there's a great restaurant called 11 Madison Park. It's right nearby here. It's considered one of the best in the world. It was owned by Danny Meyer, and then it was sold to Will Guidara, and Will Guidara built this restaurant that was just absolutely famous for the most incredible service on the planet. And what he always did was he charged all of his people with, okay, folks, here's the contest. Who can create the most incredible customer experience? Let's compete with each other. And they had some great stories that they can tell, that they tell. He doesn't own anymore, but absolutely incredible. So we've charged our front line. How unreasonable can we be with our hospitality? Okay, I'd rather have to say to somebody, you've gone a little too far than we've not gone far enough. We've not had to tell anybody they've gone too far yet, but we've had some people doing some really great stuff, and there's some rewards involved with that to make sure the level of hospitality and service is different and better than anybody else out there. I'm not saying mission accomplished. It's a work in progress, but at least that initiative's in place. Thank you, though. Yes.
Hi, so I'm an affluent guy in his 50s.
Hello there.
I'm dressing the part. No,
That's
but
great. You look fantastic.
thank you. We can speak. We can chat later about that. But to that point, the word you haven't used is, when you spoke about the online, is the sartorialism movement, because there is this thriving men's sartorial, like the backlash movement to dressing in sweats all day.
Yeah.
And how conscious are you, is the brand of that? Because from looking in from where I am, right, you seem to be really actively and consciously making yourself visible within that movement.
Yeah, we sure are. And it starts with our creative director, who is one of the most famously sartorial guys on the planet. He's in the circle. He lives and breathes it. And I think the whole team very much does so. But I think also what I mentioned earlier, which is a great byline that Azahan gave us, which was unapologetically dressed up since 1938. It will continue to be our core competency. We're urged constantly by Mitsui, our ownership, make sure you keep your eye on sportswear, and we all agree, and we're developing what we call our upper casual sportswear area, but sartorial splendor is what it's all about, and our team lives and breathes it, whether it's down in DC with one of our great guys there by the name of Scott Hill, or it's here in New York by one of our veterans who might be in his 30s or 40s, or one of our newcomers who just graduated from Boston College a couple years ago by the name of Victor Netland, who looks one of the most sartorially cool guys on the planet. Wherever it is, we're just kind of living and breathing it. So it's a great point. It's very good. We intend to be in it, stay in it, and thrive in it.
All right, well, I guess that's all the time we have. Thank you.
Time's
oh, wait,
up.
wait.
Oh, one more.
Guy at
Yes.
the first table, so, you know.
Questions. You talked about the future, and the future is brick and mortar as well as online. Mall versus freestanding.
We tend to gravitate, I think, towards freestanding. Malls have a lot more requirements as far as hours, which can become cumbersome just at first glance, and also not only from just stretching the people, but stretching the costs of it. So freestanding appeals to us more at face value. Yes.
Okay. Removing women's wear lowers square footage requirements, naturally. But what is the size of your future in your stores?
In the stores,
Are you in the 3,000,
5,000 square
5,000?
feet's usually pretty good.
5,000.
Yep, Chicago's about 5,000 square feet, and it's a great size. 2 floors is great. We have 3. With the basements in Chicago is all storage and back office, but 2 floors is great, and 5,000 just is pretty darn good.
So 2 floors works for the
Yep.
for the brand.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, we're a little over. It's probably
any
actually closer to
F&B
6,000.
Any F&B in the future stores as ideas fly around in your
Say
your
it one more
creative
time.
room? Any food and beverage in your stores?
Ah, yes, we do.
In your
yes.
in your future thoughts
To sell or just to
sell.
sell. I don't know if we could get into selling.
Okay.
Could be. It's part of our hospitality in New York and in DC. In Chicago, we built an incredible bar where we serve. But I've not. It's good. Good question. It's something to look into whether or not we could sell. We thought about maybe doing little coffee shops at one point too.
Okay.
Maybe selling. That could be also a good new way for hospitality and for driving traffic. Ralph Lauren does it very well. Very well. But yeah, not sure about the liquor. That's a good question though. That's something we should
And
think about.
lastly, rent versus own in the future of real estate.
Very good. Yes. I turn my thoughts to our ownership, Mitsui, to ask them about buying some buildings, and hopefully that will happen. For the time being, we will be renting.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Enjoy your day. Thank you, Gene.